Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. The outside world was wild with enthusiasm, but inside the life and death corridor within the boat of Mausoleum, silence prevailed. Dear Bugmaster, Luo Feng, Shadow Dust Master, and Sorcerer Sprite Master were carefully flying along the corridor at a reduced speed. By the time Luo Feng received news from his race, Dear Bugmaster, Shadow Dust Master, and Sorcerer Sprite Master had already learned of it much earlier. This went to show the great importance the races and clans attached to this event. Purple Moon Ancestor had shown up to have a face-to-face conversation with Dear Bugmaster's body personally. How honorable was that? At that moment, Dear Bugmaster had the highest probability of becoming the greatest hero of Purple Moon Holy Land universe. The 7 true masters had earnestly implored Shadow Dust Master and Sorcerer Sprite Master to do their utmost best, with the promise that 2nd True Master and 7th True Master would lead a big team of Universe Masters to render support. All out. We shall go all out for the slightest chance for survival. Shadow Witch couple went berserk. Dear Bugmaster was also going crazy from the glory he was basking in. Purple Moon Ancestor has made a personal appearance. This might be the most glorious moment of my life. I must do my very best. Luo Feng, meanwhile, was feeling a magnanimous amount of passion. The human race is weaker, the number of great beings is limited. I cannot compare with any of them in terms of head count. So I shall depend on myself, Luo Feng, and my own capability. The 4 great beings flew together. Occasionally, their gazes would meet, and their eyes were filled with enmity. As they flew ahead, the corridor started to widen, and the surroundings started to get brighter. Gradually, stone pillars started to appear on either side of the corridor. On every stone pillar, there were virtual shadows of different forms. There could be square shadows, or pyramidal shadows, or polygonal shadows. In short, every stone pillar would have one virtual shadow. Those on the left side of the corridor had shadows that were compacted together, and within these shadows, there were 1,000 different kinds of ripples. The stone pillars on the right side of the corridor had shadows that were loosely scattered and, thus, were just barely able to form a skeletal frame. On the left, there was a total of 123 stone pillars. On the right, there was a total of 10,080 stone pillars. What? While flying, Luo Feng, Dear Bugmaster, Shadow Dust Master, and Sorcerer Sprite Master wore expressions filled with doubts. They flew slowly, and along the way, they also carefully observed the 3-dimensional virtual shadows on the stone pillars. These 3-dimensional virtual shadows were all immensely huge, and within them, there were innumerable ripples. The 3-dimensional virtual shadows on 123 stone pillars on the left side corresponded nicely to the 3-dimensional virtual shadows on the first 123 stone pillars on the right. On the left, the 3-dimensional virtual shadows were compact and complete. They were well structured, like the Great Wall of China. The 3-dimensional virtual shadows on the right, however, only had a skeletal frame, as though many bricks of the Great Wall had been being taken out, causing the entire structure to become so shaky that it seemed as though it would fall apart. Every 3-dimensional virtual shadow had a variety of colors, emitting thousands of light rays. At that moment, the inside of the entire corridor was so dazzlingly beautiful that it looked like paradise. The foursome, including Luo Feng, advanced together and soon arrived at the end, the area in front of the 10,080th stone pillar on the right. All the light had gathered to give form to a figure, and that figure was Decoding River. Shadow Dust Master and Sorcerer Sprite Master were the first to bow and pay their respects. My lord. This prompted Dear Bugmaster and Luo Feng to also bow in respect. Yet Decoding River did not pay attention to the surroundings. His gaze fell upon the various 3-dimensional virtual shadows that were held down by the numerous stone pillars. Then, with a sigh, he asked, "Do you all see it?" Shadow Dust Master was the first to reply. My lord, there is a total of 123 3-dimensional virtual shadows on the left, and a total of 10,083 dimensional virtual shadows on the right. Between both sides, the stone pillars on the left are perfect without flaws. It seems like they contain certain mysteries about secret techniques within them. However, those on the right are all imperfect. Dear Bugmaster added, the first 123 virtual shadows on the right happen to correspond with the 123 virtual shadows on the left. That's right, Decoding River said, looking at those dazzling three-dimensional virtual shadows that were radiating millions of light rays. Tears welled in his eyes, blurring his vision as he whispered, "This is my hometown, and this was the most popular form of entertainment during the time of my civilization. It is also a method for cultivating and training comprehension. Any major group or power, unique inheritance, and several others would frequently utilize it when they needed to test the comprehension capability of their candidates for various purposes. This was called Rhinoceros Emperor Game." Rhinoceros Emperor Game. Luo Feng, Dear Bugmaster, Shadow Dustmaster, and Sorcerer Sprite Master all listened intently. Rhinoceros Emperor Game was created by an ancient, strong being, Rhinoceros Emperor, before he was annihilated. He had put his best effort into creating it. Rhinoceros Emperor's entire lifetime can be said to be sorrowful. He was a true hero, but in the end. Nevertheless, Rhinoceros Emperor Game was remembered by all the great beings of my civilization. Of course, his powers were much stronger than mine. After he was annihilated, this Rhinoceros Emperor Game was spread to the masses. In the early stage, countless great beings merely took it as a form of entertainment. Later, they discovered that it was extremely demanding on comprehension level. And often, studying the Rhinoceros Emperor Game was beneficial in increasing one's comprehension level. In our civilization, be it someone as young as a child just born, or someone as high up as a supreme existence, all enjoyed this game. For Emperor Rhinoceros Game, continued Decoding River, there is a total of 10,081 types of basic endgames. The right side has a total of 10,080 endgames. As for the so-called 10,081st endgame, it is the scoreless game. And on the left side will be the perfectly decoded games. Once you have supplemented the first 123 endgames and have brought them to completion, you will found the solution to the game. All four of them, including Luo Feng, nodded their heads to indicate understanding. Study the first 123 decoding methods, Decoding River said. You should be able to find out its basic secret rules. If you can't even comprehend the basic secret rules, then your comprehension level is much too low. Once you have completed comprehension of the basic rules, you can proceed to decoding. Solve the first 124 endgames on the left. When you reach the 125th endgame, you will be able to find the solution. I will give you all a longer time. Just do your best in decoding for a solution. Once the time limit is up, if you cannot even meet my most basic requirements, you will be eliminated. Of course, in this round of elimination, you will certainly face annihilation. Luo Feng and the other three were taken aback. Annihilation. Of course, you all have yet to truly come in contact with the inheritance, Decoding River said. Only after you have decoded the game up to a level that meets my minimum requirement and arrive at the next big hall, that is when you can start to get in contact with the inheritance. If you have yet to come into contact with the inheritance, then of course, there is no need for total elimination of the soul. Even if you are to be annihilated, it will just be your current godly bodies that will be destroyed. If you all have other bodies, you still survive. Decoding River informed them of all this in a straightforward manner. However, he added, the moment you all start to get into contact with the inheritance, as there can only be one possible heir, the rest of you will be facing complete annihilation of the soul. Look ahead. Decoding River pointed afar, then commanded, rise. The ground in the middle of the corridor started to vibrate. The ground started to crack apart. At that moment, 4 light pillars radiating colorful light emerged. These 4 pillars belong to 4 of you. Decoding River looked toward Luo Feng, Dear Bugmaster, and the other 2 great beings. Once you all have comprehended the secret rules, you can start decoding the game up till the 124th stage. When you have completed the game, use your godly power to draw an outline and transmit it within this crystal pillar. If the decoding is successful, the crystal pillar will prompt you. If the decoding is not successful, the crystal pillar will not show any reaction. Go now. You may have a long time, but it is limited. Within the limited time, whoever can decode up to 6,000 stone pillars will receive the inheritance from one pulse of my Decoding river. Of course, to be able to decode 6,000 of them, this person is bound to have a bright future, and the success achievable may be even greater than mine. But I guess that none of you here will be able to achieve that yet. Just try to meet the basic requirement within the limited time for now. The one who can decode the most at the end will gain the upper hand when it comes to the inheritance. Decoding River's gaze swept across the four of them, including Luo Feng. Then he vanished into thin air. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Decoding River disappeared, and in this spacious corridor, there were 123 three-dimensional virtual shadows on the left, and 10,083 dimensional virtual shadows on the right. Luo Feng, Dear Bugmaster, Shadow Dust Master, and Sorcerer Sprite Master all felt an intangible pressure. Game? Entertainment? Shadow Dust Master whispered. I can't believe Decoding River has chosen us only to use this game from his ancient civilization to test us. You fool, Dear Bugmaster said in a cold voice. You really take this as a game? Weren't you listening? That ancient civilization, from the younger generations to the Supreme Masters, almost everyone liked this Rhinoceros Emperor game. Besides, so long as we are able to decode the game up to the 6,000th stage, we may be destined for achievements that were greater than that of Decoding River Wu. That would be the same as saying that breaking through reincarnation eras will be an easy feat. The hearts of Shadow Dust Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, and Luo Feng burned with passion. Breaking through a reincarnation era. Enabling one's own clan to attain eternal existence. There was no other greater glory that one could ever ask for. Let my human race exist for eternity, Luo Feng hoped silently. Dear Bug Master shared the same fervent wish. Purple Moon Ancestor regards this with such importance. He has long ago transcended the reincarnation eras, and his power was incomparably powerful. If he holds this inheritance in such high regard, then this inheritance is apparently extremely important. I would like to see this so-called Rhinoceros Emperor game for myself, and find out just how impressive it is. I don't believe that I am unable to decode the game up to the 6,000th level. The hearts of the great beings burned with passion. Shadow Dust Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, and Dear Bug Master were self-proclaimed universe masters. Their conscious minds were able to revolve at extreme speeds, and that was extremely scary, as in a mere second, there could be countless thoughts racing through their minds. Naturally, they had what it took to gain the upper hand in the game. Luo Feng did not lose out to them in mastering the game. I am extremely accomplished in the decoding diagrams of secret engravings, Luo Feng said to himself. This diagram of secret engravings and the Rhinoceros Emperor game are both three-dimensional, so simply at one look, one can see the various secret engravings. These two have a common point, and even though I left the space of the black-striped stone pillars many hundreds of years ago, my consciousness has remained with the black-striped stone pillars to work on my comprehension of the laws and studying the secret engravings. With a time velocity that was faster by 3,000 times, my achievement in the studies of secret engravings is now much higher than before. Purple Moon Holy Land Universe. Ancestor. Dear Bug Master's other body looked up at the vast sky. Respectfully, he said, I am comprehending a method of the ancient civilization used for testing levels of comprehension, Rhinoceros Emperor game. I will need to decode enough stages within a limited period of time, so now, what I need is a space where time velocity is extremely fast. Purple Moon Ancestor knew everything that happened within the Holy Land universe. Rhinoceros Emperor game, said a gentle voice. I know that game. It is very difficult and profound. You must give your best. I will send this body of yours to Circle of Time, where time velocity can be maintained at 10,000 times. Your true body will stay here in Universe Boat to observe while your consciousness can remain in the Circle of Time to continue comprehending. Sorcerer Sprite Master and Shadow Dust Master also went to plead with First True Master. Within the miniature universe, a part of space where time velocity was extremely fast could also be set up. That was where their other bodies were planted. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Once he learned of the situation Luo Feng was caught in, Primal Chaos City Leader could not be bothered about anything else. Hurry! Your remote ocean body has to head for Huge Axe Creator's miniature universe as fast as possible. Teacher Origin has been suppressed for eternity. This has prevented the primal universe from maintaining a perfect rate of acceleration. In Huge Axe's miniature universe, a space can be set up to allow you to maintain an acceleration rate of 10,000 times. Primal Chaos City Leader personally retrieved Luo Feng's new remote ocean body and headed for Huge Axe Creator's universe. Inside Boat of Mausoleum, all the stereoscopic phantoms glowed in different colors. Luo Feng, Dear Bugmaster, Sorcerer Sprite Master, and Shadow Dust Master all walked to the phantoms and stood in front of the stone pillars. They penetrated their godly power into the phantoms to study them. Even though I've lived longer than them, my brain might work faster, Dear Bugmaster thought. Shadow, Sorcerer, and Lu Feng could feel the sense of hostility and competition in the air, though none of them spoke a word. They were the first ones here for the inheritance. They had the best chance. Inside the miniature universe of Huge Axe Creator, around a section of land were whirlpools and black mist that seemed to be destroying the world. Luo Feng sat at the top of the mountain with his legs crossed, watching the whirlpools in the distance. His finger pointed to the space, and traces of godly power penetrated it and formed a complex stereoscopic phantom. How amazing! Such a complicated Rhinoceros Emperor game. I've been trying to comprehend it for a while, but I have no idea how it works. What are the rules of this game? Luo Feng hadn't played any game seriously before. While still living on Earth, he'd been trying to better his life and the lives of his family. After he became a warrior, he had never had a chance to relax. However, now that he was standing among the most powerful beings in the original universe, he started to study the most popular game from an ancient civilization. He was very curious about this game. After all, it could test, or even improve, one's comprehension. What are the rules for this game? Luo Feng said again, studying it carefully. Although he had just started studying the game in Boat of Mausoleum, more than a day had passed outside the boat. Thanks to the speed of his brain, he could immediately finish studying the spaceship. However, he couldn't even decipher the basic rules for the game. 123 solved games in total, he muttered. 123 solved games, and 123 broken games. They correspond to each other. Light. Shape. Luo Feng studied it for more than 3 years. This is the game rule. Luo Feng whispered, smiling a bit. Rhinoceros Emperor game is a stereoscopic game, like a complex engraving picture. Rule number 1, there are 10,081 basic elements. Luo Feng said to himself. Rule number 2, on each microstereoscopic hologram, each basic element can only appear once. Rule number 3, every microstereoscopic hologram will change, which makes the holograms appear different from each other. No two lines of the hologram can have the same picture. Rule number 4. Rule number 5. Rule number 9, in the ultimate solved game, the stereoscopic phantom formed by godly power has a perfect circle. The energies will exist forever. 9 rules, and all were extremely complicated. Even the mind of a universe master couldn't remember the position of a basic element. Countless basic elements formed a microstereoscopic picture. Countless pictures formed a small stereoscopic picture. Countless small pictures formed a medium-sized picture. Countless medium-sized pictures formed a stereoscopic phantom. Even universe masters wouldn't have been able to remember them. One needed to understand the mysteries behind the game. Just like performing techniques, one needed to understand the mysteries to truly perform it, as its complexity could not be memorized directly by the brain. Impressive! Luo Feng exclaimed. How complex the rules are. And each game formed is complete, and doesn't consume any energies. Impressive! Even the engraving of my miniature universe can't achieve a perfect energy circle. The first round of Rhinoceros Emperor game isn't as complicated as the miniature universe engraving picture. However, it is exceedingly complex, and the energies last forever. That's why it's perfect. No wonder Rhinoceros Emperor game is so popular in Decoding River Wu. Amazing that someone was able to create such a mysterious game. Luo Feng was excited. It was much easier to study Rhinoceros Emperor game after learning the rules, and he was immediately attracted to the game. Immediately, Luo Feng was addicted. It was interesting, challenging, and offered a sense of accomplishment. He admired Rhinoceros even more now for being able to create such a game. It had strict requirements for intelligence, and one needed to be at least an undying fighter to be able to contemplate the game. Decoding River said that in the ancient civilization, everyone, including the children, loved this game, thought Luo Feng. Does that mean even children of that civilization were undying? The idea flashed through Luo Feng's mind. Then he stopped overthinking and focused on contemplating the game. Dear Bug Master, Shadow Dust Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, and Luo Feng were all staring at the stereoscopic phantoms. Finally, Sorcerer Sprite Master transmitted the voice. Shadow Dust. Shadow Dust. I've figured out the rules. What are the rules? Shadow Dust Master was overjoyed. This goddamn game. I've studied it for a long time, yet I still have no idea how the rules are. The rule is, and Sorcerer Sprite Master notified him. Shadow Dust Master was exhilarated. Of course. Ha ha. No wonder I couldn't figure out the mysteries behind these phantoms. The connections between these stereoscopic pictures are so complicated. Sorcerer Sprite, we both know the rules now. How about the other two? They both glanced at Luo Feng and Dear Bug Master. Dear Bug Master and Luo Feng stood as still as sculptures. Don't worry about them, said Sorcerer Sprite Master. We can communicate with each other and comprehend those together. We'll be way ahead of them. That's right. When the second true master and others from our race come here, we'll have a better chance. From the 3 universe eras to the 2 holy lands, great beings from almost all the powers were heading toward Universe Boat. Great beings from the Heaven Clock clan was the first to arrive. 100,000 times faster than light speed, a broken shadow was roaming the space outside Flame Ice region. It was approaching Boat of Mausoleum at high speed. Jittery Sea Master, Red Lark Master, and the Silent Rock Giant Master were all looking at that shadow. It's a Universe Supreme Master. That broken shadow immediately slowed and stopped in front of the gate. The 3 Universe Masters were horrified and took a step back. Shadow Clock Demon Master. The 3 Universe Masters all looked at the outside. A black clock shadow floated outside the gate. Then the shadow dissipated. Followed by a ripple, a weird elder with long hair that had billions of small black clocks on it appeared. There were even clocks on his eyebrows and body hair. This was the typical outward appearance of a creature from the Heaven Clock clan. Shadow Clock Demon Master. The 3 Universe Masters gave a salutation. Ha! Skeleton Race, thanks for the news. Shadow Clock Demon Master laughed. 3 great beings from my race are rushing here. 3 forces showed up. Go to that control room, Shadow Clock Demon Master ordered. He looked at Jittery Sea Master. You know how to go. Of course, said Jittery Sea Master. This is the map. A trace of godly power flew outside his body, and a complex map was formed, leading to the center palace. It was a simple route, and it was easily understandable. Great. Shadow Clock Demon Master nodded. Then go. Shadow Clock Demon Master took a look at the 3 Universe Masters from the Heaven Clock clan and added, the hope of our race is borne on your shoulders. Okay. Okay. We'll make it or die trying. The 3 Universe Masters were also excited. They flew to the control room like 3 streaks of light. After half a year, in front of the gate of Boat of Mausoleum. How are you stop us from getting in, Shadow Clock Demon Master? Do you want to fight us, the first ancestral god school? Get the hell out of here. Shadow Clock Demon Master. 6 Universe Masters had gathered in front of the gate. They were all Universe Masters staying around Flame Ice region. They had come here after hearing the news. However, Shadow Clock Demon Master needed to take care of his race. He needed to stall any other great beings as long as possible. Humph. Shadow Clock Demon Master stood there, ignoring them. A powerful force tore apart the surrounding space and time. Shadow Clock Demon Master was horrified and looked toward the force. Such a strong force, he said. Which Universe Supreme Master is it? I've never seen you. A beam of light rushed into the gate. Shadow Clock Demon Master didn't dare to resist it. He could tell that the palace true treasure was a supreme true treasure. Its powerful force permeated the surroundings. An elder in a white cape surrounded with leaves landed. He glanced at Shadow Clock Demon Master. You are... Shadow Clock Demon Master frowned. Eastern Emperor Holy Land. Humph. The white-caped elder didn't even want to take one more look at Shadow Clock Demon Master. He waved his hands, and suddenly, 20 Universe Masters, 200 Universe Knights, and 2,000 Undying Fighters appeared. Go, he ordered. Get the inheritance for our Eastern Emperor Holy Land. Yes. All the great beings rushed in. The skeleton race had given the map to Eastern Emperor Holy Land a long time ago, in an effort to befriend them. I, North True, haven't been in Universe Ocean for more than 10 universe eras, the white-caped elder said, glancing at the others. If Purple Moon Holy Land and the other powers haven't arrived by now, they never will. The white-caped elder waved his hands, and a giant black oval blocked the gate. Now that I'm here, let's see who can get in. The white-caped elder took a step and merged with the black oval. On the life and death corridor of Boat of Mausoleum, there were 6 figures standing in scattered directions, while observing the ongoing Rhinoceros Emperor game. Any movement? Luo Feng's brows were furrowed, and he looked outward. He could vaguely feel the bouts of ripples being transmitted over from the other end of the corridor. He guessed that was where he had earlier exchanged blows with Monster Quayo. The ripples produced during their battle had caught the attention of Shadow Dust Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, Deer Bug Master, and the 2 other Universe Masters from Heaven Clock Clan. Their expressions did not look very well. Could it be that another great being has arrived? Luo Feng mumbled to himself. Duan Dong River has left the floodgate open, and for those from the skeleton race, who were eliminated at the very beginning, he did not kill them. Rather, he let them off unscathed. Obviously, he wanted the news to spread so that he could attract the attention of more great beings. The greater the number of candidates, the higher the chances of finding a great being that could accept his inheritance. Luo Feng could understand Duan Dong River's intentions, but his actions added pressure to Luo Feng. Rhinoceros Emperor game is really difficult. Although it has not even been a year here, in Huge Axe's universe, I have been comprehending for a couple thousand years. Luo Feng sighed. A few decades of comprehension, yet I am still in the pondering stage. Now, I have merely passed up to the 119th stage, and have instantly mapped it out onto the crystal pillar. From the first to the 10,081st stage, Rhinoceros Emperor game was unbelievably demanding on one's ability to comprehend. Although the regulations had been summed up earlier, indicating that one only needed to decode a complete solution for the first to the 123rd stage, to achieve full comprehension, and then to instantly map it out was still very difficult. Luo Feng had to fully comprehend the first 100 stages, before he felt that he had made some improvement. That was an improvement in his ability to comprehend, as when he was thinking about the mapping process, his consciousness could take up a more multidimensional structure. A short while later, a strong ripple was transmitted. A great many figures were flying over. Luo Feng and the other 5 could not resist turning around to look, and what they saw brought changes to their expressions. So many. This is really a lot. How can there be so many? Luo Feng and the rest were shocked. With one look, the dense crowd of figures included at least a couple hundred great beings, and most of these hundreds of figures had similar appearances. For instance, their godly bodies were generally surrounded by green leaf vines. The majority of these figures were obviously from the same race, with only a handful who obviously were different from this race. Shadow Dust Master's expression changed slightly. Almost all of them are from East Emperor Holy Land universe. Only 3 are from another race. East Emperor Holy Land universe has unexpectedly sent so many over. Look, not all of them are universe masters. There are even universe knights and undying souls, Sorcerer Sprite Master added. Previously, Monster Quayo had been extremely terrifying, but now, even universe knights and undying souls are able to make it past Monster Quayo to come here alive. I think Monster Quayo must have taken into consideration the intruder's ability before showing its power. Yes. This news is very important. Previously, clans only brought more universe masters over to try their luck. They did not bring any undying godly spirits. This news must be transmitted to our clan. If we are talking about undying godly spirits, the Divine Eye clan has tons of them. Shadow Witch couples' bodies immediately started to report the news to their clan. But, the Divine Eye clan acted first and sent 2nd True Master and 7th True Master, who had already set off. An ice-cold voice resounded. The turnout is quite big this time. Luo Feng turned to take a look and saw a lone figure that was formed by converging light rays standing in the distance, Duandong River. Luo Feng merely cast one brief look. Thereafter, he did not pay further heed to Duandong River. Every time there were newcomers, Duandong River would come out to repeat the same explanation. Earlier on, when the 2 universe masters from Heaven Clock clan arrived, Duandong River also gave the same explanation. Occasionally, Luo Feng would pay attention to the situation in his surroundings, but in doing so, he felt that it did not have the slightest bit of influence on his speed of comprehension. He, Dear Bug Master, and Shadow Witch couple, being the earliest batch, were in an advantageous position. Even if an outstanding great being turned up later, so long as any one of the 4 managed to meet the basic requirement, he or she would naturally be able to get in contact with the inheritance first. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Previously, I managed to complete mapping out the first 100 stages. I felt as though things were brightening up, and I was cheering up over the fact that I had made marked improvement. Now, I have fully comprehended the first 123 stages. I am left with this 124th stage. Luo Feng cast a glance at that 124th endgame that was quite a distance away. Then he focused all his attention on the crystal pillar before him and started to try decoding. The first 123 stages were fully comprehended, but because the solutions were already publicized, there was no difficulty at all. All he had to do was comprehend the solutions thoroughly. At that moment, he was facing the first true attempt at decoding. It was not like before, where he just had to look at the outcome of the decoded game to comprehend it. This time, he had to look at the endgame to decode the game. Obviously, he felt terribly bothered. Once. Twice. Luo Feng tried to map the layout, even for those basic elements that he was unclear of, he mapped them based on his gut feeling. With the passage of time, Luo Feng's mind got clearer, as though his mind was sketching from tens of thousands of dimensions that were combining with one another, and very quickly, the basic elements were determined. This was his first attempt at decoding, and suddenly, he felt that he had gained new experiences on top of the knowledge he had learned from his previous comprehension. Half a month passed. A 3-dimensional virtual shadow of a cone was forming within the crystal pillar. From the outside, no one could see it. The 3-dimensional virtual shadow was perfect, suspended in mid-air. Not the least bit of godly power could be dissipated. A bout of ripples was immediately transmitted to Luo Feng's consciousness. The 124th stage has been decoded to perfect completion. Luo Feng was secretly happy. Finally, he had managed to succeed in his first attempt at decoding. I shall move on to the 125th stage. Time passed. When the group of great beings from the East Emperor Holy Land universe arrived, Luo Feng and company could feel the ripples caused by battling of supreme great beings from the outside world. And since those were ripples caused by battles in the outside world, to have that amount of power, the battles must have involved universe supreme beings. It was the 5th month since great beings form East Emperor Holy Land universe arrived. The terrifying ripples were transmitted across the different layers within the boat of Mausoleum, with their power weakening while traversing layers. When it reached the life and death corridor, where the comprehension of Rhinoceros Emperor game was ongoing, even the undying godly souls were able to detect the ripples. For the majority of great beings, like Luo Feng and Dear Bugmaster, the amount that they detected was naturally much stronger. That loathsome East Emperor universe. Dear Bugmaster's eyes flashed with a glimmer of rage, as he looked coldly at the Universe Masters, Universe Knights, and undying godly souls of East Emperor Holy Land from afar. That North True Star Master actually blocked the doorway. He actually blocked the cabin doors. Humph. North True Star Master is in an advantageous position only because he has many supreme true treasures. That is why he dares to show such arrogance. The 3 reincarnation eras knew very little about North True Star Master. But for someone who had lived for a long time, Dear Bugmaster knew a lot about North True Star Master. Incomparably ancient, North True Star Master was one of the few remaining universe supreme beings of East Emperor Holy Land universe. East Emperor Holy Land universe had been around for a long time, and had therefore received countless ancient inheritances. North True Star Master may not have owned a miniature universe, but even relying on the ancient inheritances, his battle power was still considered quite strong among all the universe supreme beings. Taking the field this time, East Emperor Holy Land universe was putting in its 101% best. North True Star Master had the other universe supreme beings loaning their true treasures to him. So he had brought along a whopping 4 supreme true treasures. The 4 supreme true treasures were Palace type, Domain type, Close combat attack type, and long-range attack type, respectively. Once he blocked the door, great beings from the Purple Moon Holy Land, who arrived later, would not be able to charge their way in. Dear Bugmaster was furious and grumbled his displeasure. Loathsome. Then, pushing North True Star Master out of his mind, he put in his best effort into studying the secret techniques. Battles in the outside world were ongoing. Purple Moon Holy Land and East Emperor Holy Land were really fighting each other to life and death, and both parties were amply prepared. As North True Star Master was first to arrive, his blocking of the entrance of the cabin doors had really left his opponent with no way out. This time, North True Star Master could arrive earlier due to certain reasons. 1. He had an attack-type Supreme True Treasure to help him pave his way. And 2. The clan had a more detailed map of the universe boat, so he could find an even nearer shortcut. The difference in arrival time of both Purple Moon Holy Land and Divine Eye clan was not that far apart. Merely 3 days. On the 3rd day of battle between Purple Moon Holy Land and East Emperor Holy Land. North True. Scram. North True, you think you are able to stop the 3 of us? Get lost. Eternal True God. Go, get him away. At the cabin doors, Purple Moon Holy Land and the Divine Eye clan joined forces. The 3 Universe Supreme Masters were doing their best to lay siege to North True Star Master. The Universe Supreme Masters of the Divine Eye clan. Every single one of them owned a miniature universe. The power that each possessed was extraordinary. Furthermore, 2nd True Master and 7th True Master were also skilled in concerted moves. North True Star Master might not have been afraid, but he could only hold out for that short moment before he was blasted away. Luo Feng and a couple hundred great beings were hard at work, trying their best to comprehend the Rhinoceros Emperor game, and not surprisingly, Luo Feng and Dear Bugmaster were the few who were faster. As for the other universe knights and undying godly souls who had come over, their speed of comprehension was much slower, especially a handful of undying godly spirits, who, although they were already briefed by the other universe masters of the same race about the rules of the Rhinoceros Emperor game, were still unable to grasp a full understanding of it. From where Monster Quayo was, there were bouts of energy ripples being transmitted over. Luo Feng was aware of it. Most likely, this would be another large batch of newcomers. So many have come, but in the end, only one can receive the inheritance. Luo Feng sighed. Madness, the clans had all gone mad. After a long while, a mighty group of a couple hundred figures flew over. At first glance, a majority consisted of undying godly souls from Purple Moon Holy Land. As for the overall number of Universe Knights and Universe Masters, Purple Moon Holy Land seemed to have the same number as the Divine Eye clan, which was also similar to East Emperor Holy Land Universe, or probably only short by 2. But if Dear Bug Master was added to the head count, then Purple Clan Holy Land would, on the contrary, be at an advantageous position. This is the most basic rule. Dear Bug Master took one look and started telling the latecomers discreetly. Hazy light rays started to gather. The light rays gave form to a green-haired man. He had eyes that were peaceful like the ocean, and as his gaze swept the 1,000-plus candidates present, he said, "Those who have come later, this is the last test before moving on to the next hall. It is a test on your comprehension. This is my hometown. It is a game that is most widely spread. It should not be seen simply as a game, but rather, as an important means to help you hone and cultivate your comprehension. He can test and increase your comprehension, and he is given the name, Rhinoceros Emperor Game." Duan Dong River gave a slow and elaborate introduction. Let's begin. Within a limited time, those whose decoding progress has reached my minimal requirement may enter the next hall. Duan Dong River scanned the room with a cold look. Do not underestimate this Rhinoceros Emperor Game. The 4 who came the earliest, humph. Up until now, only the human was able to perfectly decode the 124th endgame. The other 3 are still too slow. If this goes on, humph. Duan Dong River shook his head and laughed coldly. Then he vanished into thin air. The moment his words were heard, almost simultaneously, over 1,000 candidates present, from the Divine Eye clan, the Purple Moon Holy Land, the East Emperor Holy Land, and the other groups of powers, all looked over at Luo Feng. Luo Feng's expression changed slightly, too. That loathsome Duan Dong River. This is pure malice. How could he utter such words? Attack this human. So that he cannot focus on comprehending. Attack. Attack this human. Dear Bugmaster and Shadow Witch couple stood afar wordlessly with distant looks on their faces. As for the Divine Eye clan, Purple Moon Holy Land, and East Emperor Holy Land, all 3 had sent 2 to 3 Universe Masters out almost at the same time to launch attacks on Luo Feng. Duan Dong River might have given instructions for them to work on comprehending, but he did not forbid killing during the process of comprehending. This video will end here.